Yeah, so last time I said I think it's unlikely that Strike Team Online is going to replace Area F2, and I don't think that's true. There's been a lot more information that's surfaced about the upcoming update, and it looks a lot more promising than it is before, and I'll link below, like, the videos that I'm posted about all of that. Alright, well, the very first thing Strike Team Online would have to master is the absolute basics, the core of what makes any game fun to play. And I would start with the controls. If it wants to fill in Area F2 shoes, then it's really going to need to improve, because part of what made Area F2 so popular was its really buttery smooth controls. Another thing that's many times overlooked in new releases, and I see this all the time, weapon balance, especially in a competitive game such as a CQB shooter. Now, weapon balance in Area F2 wasn't great either. Like, for example, the MP7, just kind of insane. It had the fire rate of a minigun, but no recoil, and, like, ran super fast. Everything about it was just good. Weapons have to play into the operators appropriately. So maybe an operator has a really good weapon, but low health, or vice versa. Or maybe they have a really good ability, but a bad weapon. Or maybe no ability, but a really good weapon. Maybe their ability is the weapon. Similarly, attachments also have to play into that balance. I know right now, Strike Team Online is implementing a feature where the more attachments you have on your weapon, the more heavy it is. So there's a penalty for decking out your weapon with a bunch of attachments. It means you run slower, you ADS slower, and it's a slower reload. This is a great way to balance attachments and operators. Maybe an operator's stronger, so he can have a weapon that can have more attachments and he's not affected by the weight of the weapon. Now, what should maps for a CQB game be like? I mean, it can't be too complex, but it also can't be simple. You don't want it to be a super simple Call of Duty 3-lane map, and at the same time, you don't want it to be convoluted as to where the player can't navigate. There's a very, very fine line between complex and convoluted. I am not a game developer, and I have no idea how I would create a map that fulfills those needs. Looking at some of the map design for Strike Team Online that has already been released to the public, I can say it's actually pretty promising. However, we have no idea, because we don't have any gameplay of it, so how would we know? While I'm not experienced on the matter, I would say that some things that are important to keep in mind when designing a map is to make it intuitive. When you make a map, especially based on a place that exists in real life, such as a bank, train station, house, make it make sense. Make it convincing that it's an actual house. This way, if the player can't navigate by memory, they can just intuitively understand where to go. If they need to get to, like, the living room, they can understand that, okay, it's not going to be in, like, a secret door in the closet, it's going to be out in the hallway somewhere, right? A lot of games that try to copy the CQB style have really convoluted maps where it's a house, sure, but then, like, you know, the living room or the kitchen is, like, behind the TV, and then you go, like, over a couch and then through the banister. It's like this really not intuitive way to navigate. And the same thing goes for any sort of, like, train station. If you need to get to, like, the waiting room for the trains, like the lobby or the train tracks, it's not like in some place that makes absolutely no sense, you know. It's not like the waiting room is on one side, then you cross a parking lot, and then you get to the train tracks. It's like all in order. It should make sense to the player. You know, a player should know what a train station is like, or maybe an airport or any public place, and use that knowledge to navigate the map to a at least basic extent. Now, the very last thing on my list is graphics. Who really cares about graphics? So, I think the best way to make graphics on your game is to have it look incredible. Right? Obviously. Duh. No one's thought of that before. But then have it have an option to where you can turn it way down. The wider the variety of your graphics, the more players you will attract. For example, I have an absolute beast of a phone. It's a Red Magic 5G Snapdragon 865 processor. I can run pretty much anything. So obviously when I get the game, I'm going to turn up the 120Hz option, turn on my graphics to max. But not everyone can do that, right? If maybe you have like a OnePlus Nord that has a 765 processor, you're going to run everything on medium. Maybe you're playing on like a Nokia 36 whatever, a flip phone, you know, maybe you're gonna have to play it on minimum graphics. And the minimum graphics shouldn't just be a slight difference from the max graphics. It should be like you're playing a whole different game. It should be so literally anything can run it. The more people that can run a game, the more you can provide an experience to any type of player with any phone, not just gaming phones. I think I've listed pretty much everything, but there's a couple more things I want to list just kind of off the top of my head. A lot of people said, and this is kind of strange and oddly specific, a lot of people wanted a really diverse option for optic. Like they wanted about like 3 different types of reflex sights, and then a bunch of hollow sights, and then a bunch of ACOG. And judging from what the Strike Team devs have released, it seems like that's what they're doing. But who knows? The last part I want to leave with is I want to know what you think. Yes, that's right, you, right there. I want to know what you think, so leave a comment. Seriously, any suggestion at all. Anything. Literally anything. It could be so specific as to the color of the gloves that the operator wears, all the way to a wide overview of the long-term strategy of the game. Anything, any suggestion, I want to know what it is. If we get enough useful suggestions, well, we might be able to actually suggest them to the devs. I mean, if enough of us supply good feedback, we'll get the devs' attention. I mean, that's why I'm making this. It's to compile all of the suggestions and all of the thoughts and feelings of the community so we have a reference so we can communicate properly with the devs. Anyway, that's about it. Thank you for your suggestions. My Discord is down below, and thank you very much. Maybe also subscribe, but who's counting?